BBC Radio Bristol. I Miss You is the song. Now, earlier in our 5 a day, we touched upon the news of the new beastie being spotted around the country, the Asian Hornet. We know it's a threat to our humble bunnies, our humble bumble bees, or in fact our humble honey bees. But why? What can we look out for? I'll explain why I'm a bit delirious later. Our expert today is Chris Morton. I caught up with him before the show. He's a fascinating man, actually, and he's talking about the threat of the Asian Hornet. And I asked him where the Hornet can be found, all sorts of other things as well, and why they're such a threat.
It's not here permanently yet. And that's something we're very keen to try and sort of preserve. We have had a few incursions, as we've called them. There have been cases last couple of years, was one in Tetbury, one in Woolacombe last year, and this year there's sort of cases ongoing down in Cornwall, in Fowey and Liskeard, where nests have been found and destroyed. So we're desperately trying to stop it becoming established and becoming a permanent problem, as it were.
A massive threat to honeybees, I take it?
A massive threat to honeybees, but also to other insect pollinators as well. I mean, they are sort of voracious predators, and because they're a foreign species, a non-native species, they have no predators, no natural predators or controls in Europe, which is why they're able to spread so rapidly and cause so much devastation.
And so how are you going to be able to keep a lid on this and keep control?
Well, this is a critical time of year for us. If we can catch any nests that have been established and destroy them before they put out a lot of new queens, then basically you have stopped that incursion, which has been successfully done in sort of Tetbury and Woolacombe. And we're hoping it's been successfully done in the Cornwall cases that have come up this year. So there is no established population at the moment. You get the odd occasional queen that managed to hitchhike a lift somehow over from Europe and set up a nest in the spring.
So what are we looking out for? What do they look like?
Okay, what they look like, they are a bit bigger than a wasp, slightly smaller than the European hornet, though not everyone's that familiar with them. But basically, the insect is mainly black, but it's got a great big orange stripe on its tail, and it's got yellow legs and face, which is very different from the native European hornet, which is got a sort of very sort of reddy brown sort of thorax and wings, and a bright yellow tail. So you can't really confuse them once you know that level of detail.
The thing is, though, if we think we've seen one, what can we do about it?
Take a photograph. That's the most important thing. Catch it if you can. Child's shrimping net's a very good thing for catching them in. So then stick it in a jam jar. Having got that, probably the simplest and easiest way to get in touch with someone who can help identify it is by going to www.ahat.org.uk, which is Asian Hornet Action Team, which is groups of local beekeepers around the country who are familiar with what to look for and can help identify. And there are all the links there into the National Bee Unit and Native Species Secretariat and sort of government bodies that will get very excited and interested if someone does actually find a genuine one.
And just highlight what the threat would be if they were able to set up camp here, as it were.
You only need to go to France to sort of see what's happened, and certainly from the perspective of beekeepers, which is just sort of where I sit, beekeepers have been reporting losses of sort of 50-60% of their colonies because of the hornet. And apart from that, they will decimate other populations of insects. I mean, I think people have said that instead of wasps in France, you get Asian hornets now. There's a whole knock-on effect on the whole ecosystem that bringing in this species will actually have. And it's
And you mentioned about catching it in a net or putting it in a jar. Do they sting at all? Are they harmful to humans?
They sting. They've got a very sort of powerful sting. So yes, handle with care. I mean, they will not normally sting unless you interfere with their nest. If you do interfere with a nest, either accidentally or deliberately, basically the guidance in France is 6 stings and you go to hospital. But they don't naturally go out and sting people.
There's our expert talking Asian hornets, Chris Morton, on BBC Radio Bristol.